Good evening, and welcome along to the show. Yes, we're out of the studio this week. We're here in Tenerife where the sun is shining and it's about 25 degrees out here at the moment. But we've got a fabulous show lined up tonight. We'll be talking to TV Gardner Danny Clarke on why it's never too old to start a new career. Interior design guru Sophie Robinson is also going to be with us, and we'll be talking to Love Your Gardens Katie Rushworth. We'll also be looking ahead to the future. What's life going to be like in 2050? And Futurist Dave Coplin will be joining us. And if you're planning a barbecue over the weekend, we'll have some advice from master griller and YouTuber Dan Whittaker. Plus lots of great music as well from Amberlight, Silent Running and The Minnows. But let's start things off by chatting to TV Gardner Danny Clarke. Now, they say you're only as old as you feel, and these days more over 50s are proving it's never too late to take on a second or even a third career. In fact, during the pandemic, more over 50s upskilled by learning online technology that will help them in the workplace, with 73% saying they don't know how they would manage without the internet. With the UK population is expected to be supported by 28.2 million over 50s by 2031, there is a golden opportunity for many to showcase their skills and experience. Now, Danny Clarke became famous at the age of 58, and he's telling us today that you're never too old to start over again. Isn't that right, Danny?
You're never too old to start all over again. And I started all over again in my mid-40s. So I was, up to that point, I was in sales and wasn't really enjoying it. Financially, it wasn't too bad, but I needed to do something different for my own sanity. So basically, I turned my hobby, which is gardening, into my mode of work. I mean, I say work, but it's not work really. I mean, I feel like a bit of a fraud. I mean, you know, it's just what I do. It's a way of life. And they do say if you do something you enjoy, you'll never work another day in your life.
Exactly. And when we see you on TV, it looks like you're really enjoying yourself.
I do. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's my happy place, shall we say. And there are so many benefits to gardening because it's good for the body, mind and soul. So you're exercising without realizing it. You're out in nature, which is good for the soul. And it just is a great stress buster because you're in the moment all the time. And when you're in the moment, you're not thinking about any of your cares and worries. So I would advocate gardening as a great way, great therapy, really.
So it is one of the good things that came out of the pandemic, as it got us out into the garden and a lot more people became interested in gardening, didn't they?
Well, they did, and it's quite interesting because people started to take heed of what Arts Gardner's been telling them for years, is that horticulture and working outside spaces and being close to nature is really good for you.
So why do you think it's so important then that we dismiss these stereotypes about age and let people know that you can have a career change at any time in your life?
It's very important. You know, I'm really excited at the moment because I'm Saga's new head of experience, and it's a role they've created to help combat stereotypes of aging. And that is so important because older people have got so much to give. I am more experienced now than I was yesterday. And I'll be more experienced tomorrow than I am today, which means I know more. So why can't we impart that on the younger generation so they can use as a tool for so many things? And that is to gain, and one of the things is to gain more knowledge. We need to crack those stereotypes because you can be old at 40 and young at 70. It just depends on your frame of mind and how you look after yourself. Now, looking after yourself is very important because health is important. Gardening is a great way to generate that. So, because you're walking, you're stretching, you're lifting, you're getting some fresh air, you're listening to the birds tweeting, which is good for your soul. So all those things really make us feel better about ourselves. And another thing that's very important, I think, is to walk a lot. I don't think many people walk enough. The more you walk, the healthier you'll feel and the better you'll be.
And what about diet? Do you have a healthy lifestyle?
Yes. I, about a year ago, went plant-based. And I tell you what, Robin, I've never felt better.
Right.
So I've got rid. I don't eat anything to do with any animal products. No milk, no eggs, no pastas, cakes with dairy in them, all that stuff. That's all out the window. I've gone completely plant-based, and I feel so much better for it. And that's something, along with exercise, because exercise on its own isn't good enough. You really have to know what's inside, you put inside your body, how you're refueling your body. And if you do that well, then that will put years on your life. I'm absolutely sure of that.
Now, the research carried out by Saga shows that 71% of over 50s believe there is a focus on what they can't do rather than what they can do. Were you surprised by this research?
I was surprised by that because it doesn't apply to me. It's all about what I can do. I'm looking forward to the next day. You know, I wake up in the morning and I sort of pinch myself and touch myself, you know, and think, oh, I'm breathing. Anything else is a bonus. And I really look forward to getting out there. But I think one of the things that helps me is that I do something that I enjoy. So I've got a good reason to sort of get up in the morning and get out and face the world. So if possible, I think people should try and turn what they do, find something they enjoy, and find that a way of generating an income.
Okay, so what about you then? Any TV projects coming up that we should know about?
I am on TV at the moment. I do Lovely Garden with Alan Titchmarsh. I'm also come off the back of a series called Filthy Garden SOS for Channel 5. So I was co-presenter on that too. You can get that on catch-up, by the way, if anyone missed it.
Okay, well, if people want to get more information on your new role with Saga, where do they go to for that?
Oh, go to Instagram, and you'll find me on @TheBlackGardener, also @Saga UK, and I'll be documenting my head of experience journey and explaining why breaking stereotypes around aging is so important. So, yeah, you catch me on there and, just follow my road.
We'll do that. Danny, great talking to you. Thank you for joining us.
You're most welcome, Robin. Thank you very much. Take care for now.
So the latest trends for your living room have been revealed for 2022, and interior design guru Sophie Robinson joins us now to talk us through those latest trends. Sophie, how are you?
I am good, full of the joys, talking about my favourite topic.
So tell us about some of these latest trends then. What have we discovered from this latest research?
Well, I think what we've realised is that the way we use our living spaces has really moved on in the last couple of years. Through the pandemic, people have spent more time than ever in their homes, and I think reevaluated how we feel about them. You know, before, your living room might have been somewhere that, you know, you just crashed out in at the weekends or after work, didn't really give it much thought. And then having been forced to spend so much time indoors, I think it's really got us thinking about the way we use the space and how important it is to our kind of well-being. And what was great about this Sky Glass piece of research is that it pointed out that over 40% of people redesigned their living rooms during lockdown. So, you know, it was really kind of like reevaluating how we use the space. I think one of the big trends is that our living rooms have become quite multifunctional now. Everybody would like an open plan space. So that means, for example, modular sofas that are focused around the TV. TV, us Brits, we love our TV, don't we? You know, whether it's watching their match or binging that box set. So creating that really nice home cinema vibe, really important. But then behind the sofa, you know, you might have a desk, you might be working from home. So planning in the right sleek storage to hide all that away at the end of the day is really important. So they've got to work hard for us, our living room spaces.
Okay, so what kind of things are a big no-no? What don't we want in our living room anymore?
Well, do you know what? Number one came out as doilies, which I thought was hilarious. When was the last time you saw a doily on somebody's coffee table?
The 1970s, I would imagine.
They're things like three-piece suites. You know, that's where you went off to the furniture store, you bought your sofa and your two matching armchairs. That's a no. As I said, now it's about these modular sofa, corner sofas, nice, big and squashy, so you can really enjoy that movie. Actually, I tell you what ended up in the off trend was footstools and poofs. But actually, I love a footstool. I think get away with the hard coffee table, a nice upholstered footstool that you can put your feet on. adding all the softness. So I have to say, I'm bucking a bit of this research. I'm saying, no, hold on. They're not ready to go in room 101 just yet. What else do we see? Drinks trolleys were out, all the kind of lots of things that you would associate with an old-fashioned interior, and more in favour, as I said, of sleek tech. But like high quality tech, you know, people want the sound, they want the vision, but they don't want it to compromise the overall look. But then they want to soften the whole space with throws, cushions, house plants. Yeah, as I said, scented candles, wall art. You know, I think it's a real potential to have some real creative expression in your living room.
Now, coming back to the drinks trolleys, I think during lockdown, a lot of people ended up creating their own home bar in the living room. I know we did.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is where I would recommend people start. I mean, you can get some really cool ones now as well, actually, you know, quite retro. So I think that's really important. Are you somebody who really likes to like squash out in front of the TV? So you might prioritize that part of the room. Like I said, do you work from home? If you've got small kids or teenagers, you really need to stop and think, who's using the space and what are we doing in it? And yeah, and then design it around that.
So we're seeing lots of upcycling at the minute. So does that mean people are thinking more about sustainability at home?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, sustainability has been a big conversation in the interior design world for a while, but it's been really driven by the consumer. People really care and want to make sustainable choices, and you know, you can have a big impact in your interior spaces. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Upcycling either pieces you already own, you know, reinventing them by, I don't know, recovering that footstool in a fashionable fabric so it doesn't look off trend, whether it's painting a piece of furniture or indeed buying secondhand. We call it pre-loved in the interior design industry, you know, whether that's from the car boot sale or online marketplaces. And I'd say that it's also a fashionable look. As I said, the three-piece suite, the overly matchy look, not so on trend. Creating an interior that feels a bit more eclectic and organic and individual is a lot more where it's at.
So what else have we learned from the latest research? Mirrored furniture, that's out now as well. There was a time everyone was getting the mirrored stuff, weren't they?
Well, they were. I've got the mirrors. I mean, you know, if we're having a look, I mean, should I worry? Floral wallpaper, I've got that in my house. Mirrored furniture, I've got that. I've already admitted to the footstool. I need to rethink my career because the British public clearly think my house needs an update.
So what about the future? Are we going to see a lot more technology coming into our living room then?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about the technology is I think before, I seem to remember, you know, when flat screen TVs came out, and for example, people went really overboard and just bought them too big and they ate up too much space. I think tech now is all about being more integrated into our homes. So being less like in your face and shouting, you know, like the massive like surround sound movie speakers and things like that. You're just not seeing that anymore. Everything's small. Everything's compact. As I said, everything's got to look stylish and integrated with the overall scheme. And what I love about the Sky Glass is that you can choose, I think there's like 4 or 5 different colors for the soundbar part and around the frame. So again, it's thinking about your tech being part of the overall design scheme, not just this thing, this black screen that lands in the corner, you know, how it integrates with the rest of the space.
And just to finish on, give us your top tip. If I was going to go out to buy something new for the living room today, what should I get?
Oh, well, I think that is up to you and your budget. I have to say, I've got my eye on a Sky Glass, I'm not going to lie. So I quite fancy one of those. You know, I've got to practice what I preach. But I think even if it's just like a beautiful house plant, a nice scented candle, just something that makes you feel good, treat yourself. Your home is really important. You know, we spend 90% of our time indoors. So it's important. It's important to think about it and make sure that you're happy in your space.
And those scented candles are getting more advanced with more different and weird and wonderful and fabulous smells these days, aren't they?
You really are. It's a big boom industry. But I think it's really important. Like, our interior spaces aren't just something we look at, they're sensory. So you're right, comfort is a big trend. So soft fabrics, you know, think about how things feel, beautiful lighting, whether that's, yes, your scented candle or, you know, just having lots of lamps around the space. Do you know one of my big pet hates?
What?
Do you know those like recessed down lighters? I'm going to show you. Look, if I tilt my screen, I've got some in my house. those little downlighters.
Yes, yes.
And there are loads of them, and your living room can end up looking like the inside of a fast food restaurant. Too bright. Turn off your downlighters, get your scented candles, get a glow, get a lamp on, and create a more subtle and relaxing environment.
And the chandeliers, they're out now as well. I'm going to have to go and take the chandelier off the ceiling now.
I know. What are we going to do? I know. I mean, I seriously need to rethink this. But on the plus side, you know, floating shelves, big mirrors, wall prints, corner sofas, photos of family and friends. I've already gone on about table lamps. They made it onto the top trends. So there's hope for us yet. There's hope for us yet. I'm redeeming myself.
Some great advice there, Sophie. It's been great talking to you. Thank you for joining us.
Lovely talking to you too.
So we got some great local music coming up on the show this evening. I'm going to start off with the new single from Amberlight. This is released tomorrow, and this is called Burn So Bright.
Like night around, all around me, driving in my car at night, and I feel alright. Your window's wide, the road is open, I feel alive. Burn so bright, I burn so bright for you. Story, if it's good or bad, can I just keep going? Will I end up ever knowing if this dream will last? You are all the love I'll ever need around me. You are everything my heart requires. On and on.
So just how will the world look in 2050? Well, Chief Envisioning Officer Dave Coplin has been providing advice and guidance around the impact of technology on a modern society, both at work and in play, for more than a quarter of a century. Taking lessons from the past and picking up on clues which most of us would have missed, he also looks at the technology emerging today, which could be mainstream in 2050. So, Dave, thank you for joining us today. So tell us about your latest report then that you've done. How did all this come about?
Well, I got this great opportunity. Virgin Money reached out to me. They have a product called M-Track, which is really aimed at helping small and medium business owners get some time back. So take away some of the mechanics of business so they can focus on it. And they sort of came to me as a technologist and say, well, how's technology changed our relationship with what we do at work over the last 30 years? And what could we learn that for the next 30 years? And so for someone like me, I've spent 3 decades working in technology. You don't get projects like this every day, right? So to be able to go back in time to the 1990s, to think about a world where there was no World Wide Web, there was no smartphones, there was no e-commerce, and then to think about how we thought about technology then, and then to look at new technologies like artificial intelligence and quantum computing, and then start to project where we might go, really compelling. And the parallels, Robin, are, in the early 90s, nobody could really see, that you and I would even be doing this right now, sat on a video conference, creating some content that could be shared globally. Nobody really saw that coming. Even smartphones. The CEO of Intel at the time thought smartphones was just a money grab from the mobile phone companies. And the reason is, it's quite often difficult. You can see the technologies, but you can't connect to how society is going to change in response to it. And you certainly can't see the iterative changes that take place. And so in the report, what I try and do is say, look, here's the building blocks of the next 30 years. What it actually means is difficult to call, but here's some ideas of what might happen. And then against that, we can have a conversation about, so what does that mean for business owners and what does that help them to do?
So what are you most looking forward to, technology-wise, that we can also look forward to in the next 30 years?
So there's kind of one game in town when it comes to technologies, and the technology is called artificial intelligence. We know it today. We use it probably hundreds of times a day, every time we type on our smartphones or do an internet search. But it's what happens when you take artificial intelligence and you amplify its power with a new technology called quantum computing. And quantum computers are infinitely more powerful computers than the ones we have today. They work in a very different way, but the net result is they're more powerful. And I think the opportunity of those two technologies over the next 30 years will enable us to do some things that, even today feel a bit sci-fi. So, for example, it's feasible to think in the next 30 years, I might be able to create a digital persona, so digital Dave, if you like, that knows everything I know about my business and how I run my business and the things that are important to me. And digital Dave could work on my behalf. I could go to bed at night and digital Dave could just go off into the internet, talking to people around the world, looking for deals, working on projects for me. I wake up the next morning, I go and sit in my kitchen, on the counter appears a little, holographic avatar, digital Dave. Right, while you were sleeping, Dave, I was off in Canada. I've figured out there's a great opportunity. I've set up a call with a client at 11. Here's everything you need to know, win the deal. So it's that sense of elevating human capability and business capability that really excites me. And I think that's what this technology will enable on a grand scale.
Now, what about small businesses? Do you reckon that they're embracing technology, or is there still a long way to go?
I think it's probably a tale of two halves, Robin. I think one of the silver linings from the tragic circumstances of the pandemic is that we've all been taught a new relationship with technology and how important, that can be in helping us stay in business, never mind, to grow our business. So I think that's helpful. But I think what doesn't help is, I can describe things about quantum computing and AI and, putting cybernetic implants in humans. The problem is, as a business leader, you're already, having hard enough trouble thinking, well, how am I going to get through the cost of living crisis? How am I going to make sure that the pipeline's there? So the bit that I'm trying to help business leaders engage with is kind of let go of the technology stuff. Know that it's going to be there and it's going to change. What you're much better to do right now is to think about, how do I become more agile? How do we as a business become more resilient? How do we learn to embrace those changes? And that really is about humans and getting them in the right place and giving them the right mindset. And I think when you do that, the technology in a sense will take care of itself. You'll just be able to respond to those changes.
So to prepare for that then, what should people be looking at right now?
I think the question you should be asking yourself as a business owner is, what is it that I do every day that I really shouldn't be doing. And it might be something that's really important, like, for example, making sure the accounts are in the right place and all that sort of stuff. And what I mean is that's kind of a transactional thing that you don't necessarily need to do yourself as the business leader. It's certainly what Virgin Money are trying to do with M-Track. They're trying to create this dashboard that takes that pain away for you. And so I think looking for those things that are the sort of the less valuable parts of where you spend your time, and equally identifying where do I add the most value? And it's probably spending time with your employees or your customers, and using the technology to buy you time to put it where it adds more value.
And what about from an employee's perspective? With all this technology coming in, surely that would mean less manpower at work, leading to less jobs out there, creating a bit of fear around employees, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the danger, Robin. And I think when that happens, I think we get it a bit wrong. So if I can automate part of what you do, the real win is not that you do less than you do before. It's that you can now do things that you couldn't have done before. So essentially, you're able to reach further and achieve more than you could have done on your own. And that's, it's a difficult ask of businesses, especially right now, because if I offered you, 30% saving on what you do, it's pretty tough to say no to that. But I think if you do that, if you take the saving, I think you sort of seal your own demise in some sense, because you take away the capability to be able to react, to be able to add more value to your customers. So it's about, how do I invest that saving? How do I, if I can take some of the drudgery away from what my employees do, where can we then apply that new time, that new capacity to a place that will have even more value for our customers? And I think when you get that, to me, it's kind of like the opportunity cost of automation. When you get that, that's where you'll see the real business stars of tomorrow will be the ones that really understand that value piece and use technology to free up their time to add more value.
So where can business owners go to get some help or advice then?
Well, the best place is just simply to go to your favorite search engine. And if you search on Virgin Money and M-Track, it'll take you right there, and it'll sort of lay out, there's this report here that, again, gives you my perspective of how we think things are going to change, but also some really practical business stuff, the things that you can do from today from the guys at Virgin Money.
Now, back in the 90s, I remember we all got really excited when the CD-ROM came out, this new invention. Do you remember that before the internet?
Oh, do you remember when, sort of the World Wide Web or Wikipedia was a CD-ROM?
Yes.
I remember, Robin, I worked for a big multinational accounting firm as my first job. And I remember we got the internet into the office and there was one machine in the whole office. We would queue up like kids in an arcade, like, was it my turn yet? You know what I mean? It's incredible to think about it now. But that's the gift of technology is, if you are lucky enough, and I was to have had the experience before it, you can see how far we've come. And I think, this will repeat itself. So, my son, as he enters his world of work, he won't understand that. But in 30 years' time, he'll think, oh, do you remember when we had those smartphones? Not these cybernetic implements like we have. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be that sort of thing.
So you mentioned earlier about avatars, and I was reading during the week about an airline company who are testing out avatar air hostesses. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, of course it is. And I think the thing that we often, I don't think we always get the right understanding of the breadth of the potential of the metaverse, right? And quite often when we talk about it, it's really a concept of us sat at home with some dorky headset, connecting our, and with their, I think the ability to disconnect us from that. And so actually I might be there in person, or it might be digital Dave, engaging with that and bringing it back to me. But it is very much this sense of bringing, in a way, a more human connection to how we connect with each other on technology, but also to scaling that up, to taking that opportunity. There's lots we have to get right in order to get there. There's trust and privacy and all those sorts of things that are super, super important. But I think it's important sometimes just to paint a rose-tinted view of what might be possible, such that we realize that it's a journey worth taking.
And we had Tom Cheesewright on the show last week, and he was talking about flying taxis and stuff like that. Exciting times, isn't it?
Yeah, I love Tom to bits. He's brilliant. And what's interesting to me about flying taxis as an example is we spend a lot of time talking about autonomous cars and thinking about the future of cars. And my money's on the autonomous drone taxis. Why wouldn't you do that? Surely. And so it's thinking in that way. And it's guys like Tom that help shift people's thinking away from, well, I've always had a car, so I'm always going to need a car too. Yeah, but what if you just had a subscription? I want a world where I've just got a subscription service, and every morning at the right moment, a drone turns up at my house. I step into it. It ferries me off to the station, and I go into London or Manchester or Belfast or wherever it might be, and crack on. That's as feasible a future to me as stepping into a driverless car, and yet few people think about it. So it's really important that we have all of these conversations and open up people's minds as to what might be possible. Well,
Dave, definitely exciting times ahead. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me on, Robin.
Now, time for some more great local music, and Silent Running are back with a brand new album. Their current single is called Beyond Your Wildest Dreams, and here's their music video. So I'm pleased to say that garden design expert Katie Rushworth from Love Your Garden joins us now on the line. Katie, thank you for joining us. Tell us about this latest research then. What have we learned?
We've learned that bees are in decline. However, the British population have a positive attitude and really want to help with that declining bee population. 93% of them, I said they're ready to take action, and 43% have said they're wanting to do something within their own green spaces to help. So it's not all doom and gloom.
So what are the main causes for the decline in bees at the moment?
Well, there's a few things really. One is farming with loss of habitat. That's making it really difficult for bees to nest and create hives in places. Also, the pesticides and herbicides are really, really detrimental to the bees. We are taking over our front gardens with lots more parking spaces and tarmac, which obviously, again, is habitat loss. So, yeah, the bees have less and less places to nest and collect pollen and nectar from.
I'm thinking about it. I haven't seen too many bees around this year.
No, apparently 25% of people have not seen a bee yet, which is really sad. And 56% of those are in London. So, yeah, cities are really struggling. But, you know, even if you only have a balcony or a hanging basket, if you could just pop something in there that the bees really like, then that will definitely help.
So what else can be done then to support a healthy and thriving bee population?
Well, planting lots of flowers that flower at different times of year is really important because, you know, we like our gardens to look really good in the summer, but also if you can have some things that are flowering in the winter time, that really, really helps, especially the early spring, because as the bees kind of come back out, then it's really, really good to have some early nectar for them there. So things like hellebores are brilliant for that, which are beautiful, beautiful plants. So, and things like a winter box, which flowers over the winter time, that's also really good for pollinating insects. So things at different time of year, things on the blue spectrum. So bees are attracted to blue and violet colours as well as yellow. So sunflowers are excellent. If you wanted to have a go at growing sunflowers with your children or grandchildren, that's a brilliant thing to do. Bees love those. So yeah, there are lots of things we could do. Not mowing your lawn as readily. So weeds in lawns are really good, especially clover. Bees absolutely adore clover. So making sure your garden isn't too tidy all the time, having lots of blue and yellow flowers in there would be really helpful. And things like bee and bug hotels, because lots of people think that bees just live in hives, but many of them are solitary and they will live in cracks in paving and lawns and the bee hotels that you put up. So they're really important too.
So what about the honey industry then? What things can they do to help?
Well, Convita have kind of said their new 4-pillar programme, the Harmony Plan it's called, they're dedicated to saving 10 million bees every year, which is incredible. And they want to make sure that they are carbon neutral by 2025 and also carbon positive by 2030. So doing that, they're planting lots of native trees to help make that happen. So and we can do that in our own gardens too. So making sure that we're doing our bit in our gardens and buying our honey from companies like Convita, who are really determined to help the bee population, is kind of a dual-pronged approach, if you like.
And where can we go to get some more information if we want it?
The Convita website is full of information on kind of the projects that they're working with and how they're trying to make their honey as sustainable as possible. And also, if you want any wildlife gardening tips, then you can check out my Instagram, which is Katie_Gardens.
Brilliant. We'll do that. Some great advice there. Katie, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Robin.
So if you're planning a barbecue this weekend, let's get some advice from an expert. He's a master griller, a YouTuber, and he's also known as the Smoking Elk. Dan Whittaker joins us now. Dan, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Very good. Sat outside in my shack listening to the birds tweeting, so it's going to be a good day.
So what's it going to be like then over the Queen's Jubilee weekend? Will we all be outdoors then, having a barbecue? Is it going to be barbecue weather?
I certainly hope so, because us Brits absolutely love a barbecue, don't we? Research from Firma Pen shows that 36 million of us are going to be out barbecuing or attending a barbecue. So let's hope for the good weather.
So according to the latest research then, what makes the ultimate barbecue?
The ultimate barbecue for me, it's all about the social aspect. So having a family round, having friends round, putting on a bit of a spread. I mean, look a bit further afield from your kind of usual sausages and burgers, do a little bit of research and check out different nationalities, different cuisines. chicken shawarma, jerk chicken, all those kind of things just go down really well with family. If you put on a spread, then everyone's going to appreciate it.
Now, you've got some fabulous recipes. The one that I'm looking forward to is the Moroccan shoulder of lamb.
So I love food that's got a lot of spice in. So, Moroccan flavours are great for me. And with a shoulder of lamb, it's something that you need to cook nice and low and slow, so it all breaks down into something you can pull apart and add into some wraps. Use a thermometer when you're going to cook anything like that, because the importance of cooking the temperature, not to time, is you don't want to kind of overcook your food, but you don't want to undercook it either. But with something like a shoulder of lamb, you want to take it way past the kind of a medium temperature, shall we say. You want to take it to pulling temperature, which is about 93 degrees. So if you get yourself an instant reef thermometer, then you'll get that to the perfect temperature every time.
Now, when it comes to barbecues, do you think people are becoming more adventurous these days?
I think so, yeah. I mean, like I said, 36 million of us are going to be out barbecuing or attending the barbecue. Some do it better than others, but more and more people are looking to learn. I mean, I teach barbecue from my garden in Portsmouth. There's a big demand now for people that wanting to up their barbecue game. So looking to pick up some top tips. A couple of top tips that I could probably give you off the cuff is to set up a couple of different heat zones in your barbecue. So you've got your charcoal on one side, which is your high heat zone, and then you've got an indirect side. So when you put your lid down, you can put your food over to the indirect side, and it means it's not going to burn on the outside and be raw in the middle. And then obviously the most important tip, and one we touched on earlier, is always cooking your food to temperature. You don't want to overcook your food, but more importantly, obviously, you don't want to undercook your food. So.
And what about buying a barbecue? We're seeing more and more bigger and better ones coming on the market that seem to be really expensive. Do you need to have one of the big expensive ones?
The big expensive ones, tend to be the big shiny gas barbecues. Now, I like to try and move people away from gas and into charcoal. People say that charcoal, it takes a lot longer to get your barbecue going, but that's not always the case. You get yourself a chimney starter, put some charcoal in there, a fire lighter underneath, and then about 10, 15 minutes, it's ready to go. So you can pick up a good kettle-style barbecue for around about £200 to £250. Then once you learn how to use it properly, the world is your oyster, and the food will be incredible coming off of it.
So I take it then, over the weekend, you'll be barbecuing with your family and friends?
Absolutely, yeah. There'll be barbecues for all 4 of the days, I would imagine. We'll be putting on a bit of a spread, that's for sure.
And what's on your menu then?
So I think jerk chicken is a favourite, so we're going to be doing that. With jerk chicken, I've mentioned the temperature. You want to cook your chicken to 73 degrees. That is when chicken is safe to eat. So always cook it to the temperature. So probably do some chicken shawarma on a big rotisserie, spinning over the fire. That's probably one of my most requested dishes. So there'll certainly be a feast. No one's going to go hungry.
So if people want some more information or advice, where can they go to?
For more information, you can head to thermopen.co.uk. They've got some really helpful temperature guides on there, along with some recipes and some blogs as well.
Or head to your YouTube channel. I'm sure there's lots of inspiration on there.
Yeah, if you check out the Smoking Elk on YouTube and Instagram, and I also run a barbecue school just outside of Portsmouth, and that's thesmokingelk.com.
Brilliant. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks, Robin.
And let's have some more great local music now. This time, the current single from The Minnows. This is called Come Home Soon.